Oh, hi. I was just enjoying a nice cup of tea while browsing to the books that I recently purchased. So, this week I went to Canterbury with my family, my wife and daughter. And as I often do when I travel to a new town, I went to as many bookshops, secondhand bookshops, as I could. And I wanted to show you what I found. Uh, but side note, Canterbury is a great city or town. It's very beautiful. Of course, the cathedral is breathtaking, but even the rest of the town is very interesting, very historical, and I highly recommend it. If you can go there, don't hesitate. It's great. So the first thing that I purchased was this collection of Father Brown stories. So it's a 1960s edition. It has nothing special about it. It's very straightforward, But I love Father Brown, and to that point, I didn't own any physical copies of it. So I'm glad that now I do. So that was actually the first book that I purchased there, and then I bought some C.S. Lewis. So I only had a physical copy for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I found Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Threader. So now I have the first three. These two are the same 90s, 80s edition. Uh, they're not necessarily my favorite, kind of cheesy, but I don't mind. I like them, and I'm very glad that I have a physical copy for those. I also found The Magician's Nephew, so the very classic cover. It's probably the most famous cover in the whole Narnia. I'm so glad I found it. And then the last C.S. Lewis that I found was The Allegory of Love. So if you haven't heard of it, it's probably Lewis's most famous. I'm not going to call it essay because it's very long, so it's more than an essay, but it is his study of medieval tradition when it comes to love. So it starts with courtly love in the 12th century and moves up to the 16th. And it's highly recommended, it's highly regarded as well, so I will get to it this year. I haven't read it yet, but it's also part of my interest in medieval literature that I want to expand on this year. So that's it for Lewis. Then, since I was in Canterbury, I had to purchase one edition of the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. I haven't read it yet, but as I said, since very interested in medieval literature, that seems like an obvious go-to. So I will also get this done this year. And then moving on to my other interest for the coming year is the Arthurian legends. So I found a Arthurian reader. So this is a collection of essays on the matter of Britain, basically, and it goes from analyzing Geoffrey of Monmouth to more recent works. Uh, I only read the first essay. It was on Merlin and its origin, and it was very interesting. I will probably talk to you about it more at some other time. I really enjoyed it. It's very good. I believe there are a few illustrations. Yes, like this one, for example. I think are nice. There are not that many of them, but they're a nice addition. So I will let you know once I finished it. And now the two main events, two main books. First is Thomas Mallory's The Morte d'Arthur. So again, it's in part of my interest in the whole Arthurian legend and the medieval literature. I started it last year, but I didn't own a physical copy either for this one, and I'm very glad that I found something. It was actually on the last day when I was in Canterbury that I could find it, and it's a very nice edition. I like the lettering here, cover is fairly simple, but it also has a golden spray here. So it's very beautiful. It dates back from the 20s, and if you can see, there are many great illustrations inside. Like this one, it's very good. I'm going to show you a few others as well, like this, presenting Guinevere. So it's full of gorgeous illustrations. I'm very pleased with it, actually, and it's one of the books that I really wanted to find um, in a second-hand bookshop, and I'm glad I did. So this is illustrated by a guy named Russell Flint. Have never heard of him. I don't know if he's a famous illustrator or not, but I really like what he did there. It's great. And the last one that I wanted to show you is also in the same theme, but it's poetry, and it's a Folio Society edition of Tennyson in a nice flip case. So this is a very beautiful edition. See, I like the patterns here. They're very nice. I wanted to read some poetry, and if I can mix poetry with Arthurian legends, that's perfect. So I was particularly interested in his Idols of the King. But apart from a few poems like The Lady of Shalott, I didn't really know much about Tennyson, but I'm really looking forward to getting to know him and his take on Arthur. It's also illustrated, like you can see here, for example. It's a very basic illustration, but there are a few of them that are very, very nice. I liked the one about The Lady of Shalott. I don't know if I can find it. But they were very interesting. There you go. I have the first illustration here. Just the Lady of Shalott looking out the window while weaving. And then Lancelot coming here. And spoiler alert, her on her death boat, I guess. So yeah, it's a very nice edition. You can feel that the paper is of high quality, and it's very nice to read it. You know, it breathes a lot of text, so it's very pleasant. It's quite a hefty book, but I'm extremely happy that I found it. And anytime I go to a new town, I try to do as many second-hand bookshops as I can, and I usually prefer second-hand bookshops to modern chains. Of course, one of the reasons for that is that it's usually independently owned, but also because I found that older editions tend to be more beautiful than new ones for the most part, and also they usually tell a story. You know, when you think about all the people who owned those books before you, and now you get it, it seems like you're part of a tradition. So that adds something to the acquisition of a new book. And also, something that I really enjoy is that when you go to a second-hand bookshop, you don't really go for with a specific idea in mind. You kind of stay open and look at what treasures you might find. And I found that more interesting, more exciting than just going to a new bookshop, seeing a lot of uninteresting releases. And it seems like there's not much to it. You just go pick the thing that you wanted and then you go home. Whereas in a second-hand bookshop, I said it's a hoard of old books and tradition. That's something that I really enjoy. So let me know if you also have found some very interesting new books recently, some old acquisitions maybe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.